Are you curious about whether someone at work is interested in you romantically? Stay tuned for a reading that can help you figure it out. Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's reading, we'll be using a 4-card spread to look at the potential for a workplace romance. I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. This question was posted anonymously online, and the question was, is this guy at work interested in me? The querent gave no other information. For simplicity's sake, I will assume that the querent is a woman, and I'll call her colleague Keith. The querent didn't mention using a spread, however, I will be using a 4-card spread to look at Keith's feelings towards her. Card number 1 looks at Keith's conscious feelings towards the querent. The querent drew the Knight of Wands. Card number 2 looks at Keith's subconscious feelings towards the querent. The querent drew the Page of Swords. Card number 3 looks at how Keith perceives the querent's feelings towards him. The querent drew the World. And card number 4 looks at the potential outcome of Keith's feelings. The querent drew the Emperor. Let's begin with my first impressions. I have to say that this reading really stumped me, and I hate it when that happens. As an aside, this is why it's important to have a good understanding of the cards. It's always gratifying to look at a reading, be in touch with your intuition, and feel like you know exactly what's going on. But that doesn't always happen. If that's the case, as it was this time, I look for commonalities in the cards and then just try to slog through. And I hope that by the time I'm done reading the individual cards, I'm able to answer the question. That said, the only commonality I could see in the cards is that everybody is facing toward my left, which is the past. Even though the Emperor is facing forward, his eyes are looking toward my left. Also, the people in the cards are also holding something in their hands. The Knight of Wands is holding a wand in his right hand. The Page of Swords is holding the sword in both hands. The World is holding a wand in each hand. And the Emperor is holding a scepter in his right hand and an orb in his left hand. I don't feel like any of this helps me to determine Keith's feelings towards the querent, other than perhaps she is a handful. So I'll look at each card individually now. Card number 1 looks at Keith's conscious feelings towards the querent. The querent drew the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands energy tells me that Keith feels a great deal of fiery passion towards the querent. If this was a romance novel, he would be sweeping her off her feet and they'd be having wild, passionate sex. Everything in this card confirms Keith's burning desire towards her. How can I tell this? First of all, the Knight of Wands has red hair. Redheads are considered to be hot-headed and dramatic. Except for his armor, everything about this card is the color of fire and represents passion, drive, and a fiery personality. We can even see feathers that look like flames on his helmet and armor. Think about the qualities of fire. First of all, if you've ever sat around a campfire, you know that fires are mesmerizing. You can't help looking at them. That's how Keith feels about the querent. She is the center of his world and all he thinks about. The downside of fires are that they are fast, indiscriminate, and out of control until they either burn out or are stopped. This tells me that Keith feels a lot of passion towards the querent, but doesn't always stop to think about the consequences of what he is doing. The Knight is holding a wand in his hand, and I'll let you figure out what that can represent in terms of a passionate relationship. The Knight is riding on a red horse with green reins. This further emphasizes his fiery nature. The green reins, however, are about the only thing in the card that aren't a fire color. This is a more grounded color and shows that Keith does have some control, which is the reason why the querent isn't aware of his feelings. The Knight is also covered in armor and only his face is showing. This is the second reason why it's been hard for the querent to figure out what Keith is feeling. In summary, Keith feels a lot of passion toward the querent. Basically, I think she's all he thinks about. Card number 2 looks at Keith's subconscious feelings towards the querent. The querent drew the Page of Swords. Here we have another young male with red hair. He's also wearing a red tunic and red boots. This shows that, subconsciously, Keith also feels passionately towards the querent. However, this card tells us that he's not completely sure about the relationship. First of all, pages are children. They are observant and like to learn. The fact that Keith is standing on a hill, which is the high point of the landscape, tells me that he is very curious about the querent and wants to learn more about her. Basically, he's in a position where he could spy on her. Swords are about thoughts and communication. We can see that the top of his sword is cut off and extends outside the image. This tells me that Keith is unsure of his thoughts towards the querent. In summary, I think that Keith definitely feels passionate towards the querent at a subconscious level. However, he's also unsure about her and wants to learn more. Card number 3 looks at how Keith perceives the querent's feelings towards him, the querent through the world. Overall, Keith thinks that the querent has very positive feelings toward him. The World card is the last card in the major arcana. It represents completion, fulfillment, happiness, enlightenment, and success. Keith believes that the querent sees a lot of potential for a fulfilling, happy, successful relationship. She possibly views Keith as her soulmate. The World represents the end of a journey and the beginning of the next one. Keith perceives that the querent has been on a long journey toward finding love. She's reached the end, having found him, and they are ready to move on to a new journey together. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 4 looks at the potential outcome of Keith's feelings, the querent through the Emperor. The Emperor card is about law and order, masculinity, and authority. He's often a father-type figure who is protecting you or your loved ones. The figure's white beard symbolizes his power, wisdom, and experience, as well as his maturity. I think that's what Keith wants, to be in charge and to take care of the querent. This is a big transition from the hot-headed fraternity boy energy of the first card or the childlike curiosity in the second card. I think that, while the querent made him feel young and passionate, he's now over those feelings and is now focusing on his role as a mature, responsible leader. It makes me think of Prince Charles and Princess Diana from England. When they got married, she had just turned 20 and he was 32. She was young, and I'm guessing in the beginning he felt a lot of passion towards her. But he quickly slid back into his duties as a royal, not to mention his affair with Camilla, while she got pregnant and gave birth to his sons. It certainly didn't turn out to be a fairy tale for her. She had stability, but certainly not his attention. I wanted to give you a bit of information about emperors. An empire would have many kingdoms, and each kingdom would have been run by an individual king or queen. The emperor ruled over the kings and queens and made decisions for the entire empire, so the emperor was a big deal. He's sitting on a stone throne on top of the mountains. This shows me that he has a very stable foundation. The ram's heads on the throne represent Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. Aries is also related to being a leader, ruler, or a member of government. Keith is certainly stable and would provide a stable future for the querent. The potential downside is that the emperor is somebody who believes in structure and has very traditional values. So I don't think it will be a very exciting life for the querent, and while she will be well taken care of, she won't have a lot of freedom. The emperor won't be the kind of partner who skips work so they can spend the day at the beach. I also think he will have very traditional views of her role in the marriage and will expect her to do the traditionally wifey things, such as taking care of the household chores and his future children. In summary, this reading looked at whether Keith, a guy at the querent's workplace, was interested in her, and the answer was a definite yes. Card number 1, the Knight of Wands, looked at Keith's conscious feelings towards the querent. Keith feels very passionate towards her, and she's pretty much all he can think about. Card number 2, the Page of Swords, looked at Keith's subconscious feelings towards the Querent. While still passionate about her, he was also unsure and wanted to learn more. Card number 3, the World, looked at how Keith perceives the Querent's feelings towards him. Keith believes that the Querent sees a lot of potential for a fulfilling, happy, successful relationship and possibly views Keith as their soulmate. Card number 4, the Emperor, looked at the potential outcome of Keith's feelings. Keith's goal is to take care of the Querent. However, it will be a very traditional marriage and the passion will disappear as Keith chooses to focus on his work responsibilities. I hope that this video will help you with your tarot readings. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.